Hi, this is Karen of PortPrep, and I wanted to make this little video to help out some of my architecture students. So there's a concern of being prepared for the drawing test if you're going to apply to Ryerson or maybe some of the other architectural schools that might be of interest to you, and how you can prepare for that, because you don't know for sure what they're going to ask you to do. Sometimes they have you draw the lecture hall that you're sitting in from a different point of view. I've heard other times they'll give you a picture of a building and say, now draw that from the inside, or draw that from a worm's eye view or a three-point perspective. You don't know what they're going to ask. So what you need to do is to practice different types of perspective drawings. And a good way to do this is just with a Google image search and look up different kinds of drawings and then do a sketch on top and kind of study the perspective of it and try sketching that out quickly to get yourself familiar with different types of things. So what I would suggest is that you try, a curved building, a building with a dome, a building with a pitched roof. Try looking up at it, try looking at it from the outside versus the inside. Just do lots of quick sketches, either just by looking at Google images of different types of buildings, or actually by printing them out and drawing over top of them, just tracing over top to get to know what do things look like, so you can be more prepared no matter what they'll ask you. And search online to find out from other students what they've been asked to do in previous years, because it isn't always the same thing. Okay, so here's an example. I'm going to do some screen share of some different things that you might be asked to do. So do a screen share. So I'm going to keep sharing different screens. So just give me a moment as I pull that together for you. All right, so here's one example. Okay, so what if they ask you to draw a building that has a domed roof? What does that look like from the inside? So a great way to learn this is just to grab one of these images, bring it into one of your drawing programs online, or print it out and sketch on top of it to get to know, look at that. You see that curve there? So it's an ellipse. And the edges are elliptical and they're all radiating from a point, so it becomes like a vanishing point that's arced. And it depends how deep the dome is. The rounder it is, the higher that point is going to be up in the middle. So the lower the dome is, like this one down here, where my mouse is, the more slight, and you can see that the center point is about there. Right, but you see part of an ellipse here. So these are some things you could practice, right? Just by looking at different photos online, right? How about this? How do you draw a pitched skylight, right? So just practice different things simply by sketching over. Let's look at a different one. Present everyone. Stop. Let's see. Let's try a different one here. I'm going to go to screen share. Oh, hang on. Cancel that. What if they want you to draw a building with a pitched roof? Let's have a look at that. Screen share. Sure. All right, so here's a bunch of buildings with pitched roofs, and again, if you just trace over this to find the perspective, that's what would be great. But what they're going to ask you, this is what you have to practice. So you could say print out, one of these drawings here, these photos. Trace over it to find the vanishing points, and then look for the same building. See if you can find out, what does this building look like on the inside? and or find another building like it, and what does that look like on the inside. And then, because what they're going to do is give you something challenging to do, not just draw this. They're going to say, take this building and draw it from the inside. Or they might give you an inside picture and say, take this and draw it from the outside. So you need to practice doing that, right? Because you know they're going to flip it around on you somehow. They're wanting to challenge you to see what your spatial awareness is like. So let's see here. I want to make sure I'm sharing. Let's stop that. I'm going to go to a different screen here. Share this one. So here we have some interior views of buildings with sloped ceilings, right? So what you want to try to do is get familiar with the inside and the outsides of different types of buildings. You know, try drawing lecture halls from different points of view. Learn about, well, how do I draw slopes in perspective? How do I draw curves in perspective? So, you know, and see what you can find online. Simple way is just tracing over a photograph and figuring out how it works, right? If you have questions, you can book a session with me. Email me at portprep1@gmail.com. Another thing you can do is rent some of my videos that teach you about how to draw these different things. Let's see. I'm going to stop sharing that. I want to share a different one now. And share this one. Present everyone. And all right, what if they say, I want you to draw the interior atrium of a skyscraper. Maybe they'll show you a picture and you have to imagine what that looks like. What if they ask you to draw a three-point perspective from the sky up high of a skyscraper? What does that look like? All right, so you really just have to look at lots of buildings and just sketch, either just by looking or by tracing over. If you don't know as much about perspective, trace over. That will teach you a lot. And if you want to know more, I do have lots of different videos that you can practice on different types of spaces by learning some basics. So just going to go back to Google Hangouts and stop the screen share. So a couple of things that students have trouble with. The vanishing points, if it's a 2-point, they tend to put the vanishing points too close together. If you're doing a sketch, it's unlikely that you're going to be able to have those vanishing points actually on your page. They're going to be off to the side of your page. So that you want to get an angle that looks like about a 120 degree, nothing too close to a 90, because it's impossible to have a 2-point perspective degree corner. We only get a 90-degree corner when we're looking straight down at something, right? When you turn it on an angle, that's not a 90 anymore, right? So that's something to be aware of. The other mistake people often make, they're foreshortening it. It's too deep. You want to make sure that things are quite tight and small in the foreshortening. As things go back, they get smaller and smaller incrementally. So you want to check that you're not exaggerating the depths. Things that people have problems with is drawing curves or slopes in perspective. So if you can learn how to do those things, that will help you. Remember to add thickness to things in the foreground, and that if something has a thickness, that thickness is going to be bigger towards you and smaller as it goes back into perspective. So even though you know it's parallel, you know it has to converge. So if your vanishing points don't fit on the page, then up past the object, past the perspective to see if it looks like those lines are going to eventually converge. So a tip is to draw your drawing first with maybe a blue line pencil, like a non-photo lead. Col Erase is a great brand. It's like a pencil crayon, but you can erase it. Do your rough construction with that and go right on top, maybe with a pencil or with a marker. And you can sketch right on the same drawing. So here's a little quick sketch I was just working on earlier today, where I did a bit of quick pencil figuring out where things were, and did some very light guidelines with my Micron pen, just by drawing really quick across the page. It makes a really light line if I draw really quickly and kind of with the pen on a bit of an angle. And then when I'm sure of what I want, I just slow down and get my point a little more upright, and I'll have a line that I want. In the background, you can be very quick and suggestive. You don't have to be really exact. And in the foreground, be more careful and making sure that everything agrees with the perspective. And so this way, you can give a sense of understanding about perspective by having the foreground carefully drawn, making sure the major structure of the room is good, and a few stronger lines in the foreground just with a slightly thicker pen. So maybe you're going to use some type of bullet tip pen to just darken things up or push harder on the side of your pencil, and that way you'll get a drawing that can look quite strong quite quickly. Okay, so I hope that helps to give you some guidance. Another thing I wanted you to consider is how you present your portfolio. That if you're in architecture or design, of course, the content of your portfolio is the most important. That you have, some powerful artworks that are really creative but have a design flair to them. If you have artworks, you want to try to somehow relate them to design or to who you are, or what your vision for the world is. That way you can have some art that's really cool and interesting, but always relate it to the fact that you want to be an architect or a designer. And make sure that you have a variety of different types of design, not just art. If you have just art, they're going to say, why did you apply for architecture? You should have applied for fine art. You must be just looking for a job because you're afraid you'll be a starving artist, and they will reject you. So you have to want architecture and love architecture and show them that you do. It's great to have some creative artwork, but not only that. I've seen some be rejected for that. And they were very talented people, but you want to show them you're an architect. You got to show them your ideas. You got to show your problem-solving ability. You've got to show them what you would like to do, what problem in the world you would like to solve for humanity or for the planet. So what do you care about in life? What you can design for that, and show us some sketches, show us some ideas. Even just loose sketches can be really awesome in a portfolio, and then some that you develop more fully. Something also done in 3D. Be a really important aspect of an architecture or design portfolio. And the other thing is how you present it. It's got to be professional. It's got to be slick. Pretend you're a professional architect. Go and look at examples of architects presenting their portfolios, or a project. So let's look at a few examples. I'm going to do another screen share here. And let's see. Just give me a second to find it. And share this. All right, so here I just did cool portfolio books by architects. And look at this one. Just nicely bound, right? And an interesting look. You might look at other books that other famous architects have done. Oh, look at this. Isn't this great? Just some laser cutting through. How can you present your work that it looks interesting? Maybe there's a really interesting graphic on the front. And that it kind of goes along with your, I guess if you have a sense of a brand, a style, that you're going to be showing that. So look at all these really nicely bound. Here's an interesting thing where they cut out their cover, right, with a laser cutter. You could do that. What a cool way to present your book. I've had a student in the past that built his cover Similar to what this person did out of wood, he did an inlay design. That was his design, and he took a lot of time to do that. I've seen other people just take their books to Staples and have them printed. You can go to a book binder to get something done that's interesting, or purchase a really nice book. Look at this DIY portfolio book, and look at how cool that is. Maybe it's got a sleeve it folds into, right? Maybe it's a folder of some kind. There's also like boxes, portfolio boxes that can look really cool. Look at how slick and gorgeous that is. Maybe you could even just buy a portfolio that you make some changes to. Look at this. Here they're teaching you how to make a portfolio book. Like if you took even a bit of time, look, this is not that complicated here. It's a piece of wood, you know, you could even use hockey tape, but you could use a linen tape and some grommets or something, and look at how slick and cool that looks. So I think you should think about how you can present your work in a creative way that suits architecture, that shows some ingenuity, some design, right? There's lots of great stuff and ways you can share your ideas and show them that you're serious about getting accepted, right? So don't just necessarily buy, you know, an Itoya book and put everything in the pockets. Consider making one and making it a cool piece of design, and really show them that you have ingenuity, you have a sense of design, you love materials, you have a great aesthetic, and make that aesthetic work with your work if you could too. If you're going to present with slide room, your graphic layout matters. Have it be really nice and slick, maybe design a motif in the corner of the page that you repeat, or some of your little drawings you've done, or sketches that can become part of it, that the type is an interesting font, that you have some words that describe things but keep the descriptions really short so that they have the opportunity to read it. They're busy, they're looking at, you know, thousands of applications sometimes, so you need to make sure that there's only a few words, or, you know, a text box with a few words highlights your idea, so that if there's an idea that you have that isn't immediately obvious visually, then a couple of words can tell them or get them interested to read more if you have more description, okay? So I hope those tips will help you, and just practice, practice, practice. So the main thing is get that portfolio together, put it in a good order, and if you want more information about that, you can download your portfolio as a visual essay. It's a little ebook that teaches you about order and how to make a strong impression. You can also rent the Proven Arts answer videos from Vimeo. They will teach you about that. You can book a session with me to review your pieces to make sure you've got the right mix and in a good order. That's 65 Canadian dollars or 50 US dollars to have that done. And you can just email me at portprep1@gmail.com. Had some problems with info at recently, so we're getting it worked out, but email me through my Gmail account. And let's get you started, and then of course practice for any test, drawing test you might have. Still life construction, different types of perspective. If you're uncertain about how to draw perspective, I have videos that teach you how to draw point of view room drawings. I have videos that teach you about slopes, about how to divide planes to figure out foreshortening, and how to draw curves in perspective. So all of those things can help you prepare, and of course just Google Images is your friend. Sketch over and practice, and you will do well. So good luck, everybody. And remember, if you want some help, just reach out and ask me. All right, bye for now.